um, this week. And so we're excited to see all of your faces, some returning, some new coaches, and excited to come together for the first time as an entire community. So, as we get started, it is really important that we first determine on a scale of hot dogs, how hot are you feeling today? So once you have the Nearpod open, just go ahead and drop your number in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Carlson, kicking us off with a definitive 4. Wow, some spicy jalapeno dogs. Interesting. I am here for that. Hi, Libby. All about the jalapenos. Interesting. Oh my gosh, Stacy. Woo! The smoke is wild. I mean, I was thinking it was wild in New York, but I bet in Wisconsin it is insane. Hope that you're somewhere breathing well. Oh my gosh, Angel. Sheesh. Oh, Jonathan, you have a new pup. What's the new pup's name?
Her name is Flora, and she is lovely, adorable, and an awesome companion to our other doodle that we have. And I totally forgot what it's like having a puppy. And it's like the real deal again. I was like, oh yeah, I think I blacked out on all these things. And
Right.
but
Uh-huh.
yeah, it's the real deal.
Yes. Every time the puppy face will sneak up on you and you go, why? What? Like, was it this bad last time? Do I remember it? How did I not? Why did I sign up for this? Yeah. Well, that's exciting. Yes, we are excited for meeting the new puppy. Yay! First day of leader PD. That's always fun. Ah, 3 question mark. Why a question mark, Lizzie?
Okay, I think I'm like overthinking it, but is it like I can't even really tell the like is it just which dog I think is making the cutest face or is it like
You
one is the coldest and nine is the hottest? Because number nine doesn't look that hot.
honestly, like fine art, this is left open to personal
Okay.
interpretation.
And that's a
So,
struggle for me. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
So I love that it's no. So then why did you land on 3? What did you
I
think
just
3
thought
represented?
his whole face was so cute. Like
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I just liked his
Little
little
yawn.
yeah, like a little cutie. And whatever
Good.
toppings they do look delicious. I don't know what they are, but
Okay. Fair, fair. All right, I like that. And thank you for that explanation. I always love an inner dialogue of like what's happening in Lizzie's head. It never fails to be phenomenal. So thank you for putting that out there for us. All right. Well, now that we've gotten arguably the most important part of today out of the way, kicked off, we are going to, oh, Max Ketchup. Interesting. Um I bet that's a controversial. Doesn't ketchup feel controversial to people?
It
I mean, in
certainly
the
does, and I will come after anybody. No, just kidding.
okay, all right. She said extra ketchup, please and thanks. Um, okay, good. Well, I feel like I've learned a lot. This is great. I am excited to welcome returning and new coaches that are here today. This lovely photo represents our 26-27 coaching community. We've got some new faces and some old faces and some returning faces. Not everyone is able to be on the call with us today, but want to just shout out some people that are going to be new to our community. So we're pumped to welcome Jonathan Bracco. He is here today. He'll be on in just a little bit. He is the principal at Leeds Southeast Middle School. We're excited to welcome DB, Dr. Burrows, the one and only. Her picture's right next to Bracco's. DB is a principal at KIPP, New Jersey High School. She is at Lab. I almost said the wrong one. High school, and we're excited to have her join us. If you go up from DB, you'll see Rhea. Rhea is a cohort 3 alum from Alpha, and we're excited to welcome her back into the AMA community. If you go up above Rhea, this lovely black and white photo, you're going to see Alexis Brown, who is not new to coach community, but she is returning after a grad school stint at Stanford. So we are excited that she is both back on the East Coast and back in coach community. If we scroll on this top row over next to Dami, you'll see another OG. I like to describe it as LeBron has returned to Cleveland. LaKendra Butler is returning to coach community. We are pumped about that. If you don't know LaKendra, just wait till you do. And I'll say now, you're welcome, because she is both just a phenomenal human and leader that is going to bring a ton to this space yet again. And we are so glad to have her back in coach community. Keep going over from LaKendra, and we have Susanna. Hello, she is in the house with us today. We are so excited to welcome Susanna from Green Dot, where she works with Lizzie, to our coach community. We are pumped to have you, Susanna. Thank you for being here. And now if we go down from Susanna around the world here, we have Libby. Welcome, Libby. She's here today. We are excited to welcome her to coach community while she is holding all things down out there in Denver. I'm not crazy, right? Yes. Okay. Woo! I was like, sometimes I get my details mixed up. There we are, holding it down at DSST. Pumped to have her. We've got Tiffany, if you go to the left from Libby, next to Emma. We have Tiffany Beltram coming straight from Central Falls School District, where she is currently serving as the MLL director. We are pumped to have her. She is cohort 5. And so she is coming with Libby, fresh out of our most recent cohort. And we have Ashley, who is next to Tiffany. We call Ashley a lot of things. She goes by P. Milla most of the time for Principal Miller. She is an incredible force to be reckoned with, and a principal up in, I know it's Carmen, and they are in Milwaukee. Yes, I was like, nope. What feels right on the tongue? Milwaukee, look at that. But that is Wisconsin, isn't it? Yes. All right, look, United States geography, we'll deal with it later. Welcome these new coaches. We're so excited to have you all and for you all to get to know our returning coaches. So this was a very exciting day and an exciting slide to put together. And so now we're going to just spend a little bit of time getting to know one another. You might be in a breakout room with someone you know from coach community or a new face, but spend some time. You got 3 minutes each. What's your name and your preferred name? Where are you in the country? Because don't leave it to me to figure that out. Or I did. I actually got it right. I'm impressed, but still, it was a struggle. What's your current role in organization? And what are you excited about in terms of joining the AMA coach community or rejoining coach community? What do you hope to learn from the experience this year? So my good old twin, Jess Brown, whenever you're ready, she is going to put us into some partnerships, and we'll have 6 minutes total to chat. Thank you, JB. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I hope that you enjoyed that time to connect. If we had all the time in the world, we would do those so many times that we would all get to talk to all of you for 3 minutes, but we won't be here all day. So would love to just hear what's one thing that either you shared or that your partner shared that you're excited about coming into coach community this year. And anybody can boldly unmute.
I'm already unmuted, and you might have heard my puppy barking, so I'll go first.
Here for it.
I had the privilege of being with the lovely Libby, and just getting to hear Libby share around how DSST is turning around so many of the AMA structures. And she's like, "Oh yeah, we're doing like habits of mind already. We're doing some groundwater work. We're doing this. We're doing that." And then like academic team is taking this on. It just like pumped me up to think about how much of AMA is already like in the DNA of what Libby is living and breathing every day. So kudos to you, Libby, and thanks for sharing.
Yes. So many good things happening at DSST. Love it, love it. One more person. What's something exciting?
I think if the first Jonathan went, the other Jonathan should go. It should go
Woo!
Jonathan squared,
Like
right?
it.
So it's good to see everybody. I got to talk to Tiffany, and it's been a while since we've been in a breakout together, so it was good to see her again. But what we talked about was one of the reasons we're excited for coaching community is because anytime that, All Means All has been a part of my life for whether directly or indirectly for 3-4 years now. And anytime someone that I'm directly connected to in the work is in the program, or when I'm in it myself, or when I'm getting ready to go to March Intensive, and I find my focus gets more granular, it gets clearer, I get more connected to my mission personally. And so to be in a consistent community, to hold to that throughout the year is just bringing us a lot of hopeful joy.
Thank you, Bracco. And again, I just can't really contain my excitement for the new and returning faces in the room. And I'm going back to this slide one more time because in my journey around the AMA coach community world, I did not name our other phenomenal new leader coming in who's right next to Libby down here in the corner, and that is Nina from Excel. You have seen her success story, and you're actually going to get to see it again today through a different lens. But we are super, super pumped to have Nina joining us this year, and super pumped because the year-over-year impact at Excel is something really exciting that we're watching unfold. And this year we have 12 leaders from Excel in the cohort, which is phenomenal. So Stunts' leadership team is there. Plus we've got folks from the network. So we're really excited to have Nina both in coach community and to be able to continue to celebrate the year-over-year impact we're seeing at Excel. So our two objectives today, one is to build community and get to know one another as we kick off cohort 6 coach community together. And the second is to make sure that we're all clear on leader goals, our coaching priorities for the month of August, and how to really go into that month effectively and feeling prepared. And with that, this is our aligned agenda. We're going to dive into talking about learning cycles. We'll go into August priorities. Then we'll go over some coaching administration stuff. I don't know if you can see it, but apparently I'm clapping with every bullet point, but don't mind me. And then we're going to close out with a quick survey. We're going to take a break around 2. We're also going to take another break in the second half. So you'll have a 10er and a 5er. But as always, please take care of yourself. Which is a good segue into our agreements and grounding in them. So if that means that you need to move, to hydrate, to take breaks, to feed yourself during the session, please feel free to do it. Don't mind me. I might take another bite of pizza crust here in a moment. But I want to give everyone else a chance to just review the agreements and think about which one is speaking to you today. And when you're ready, you can just drop it in the chat. Thanks for kicking us off. I can't even get my mouse over there. Yes, exactly right. Catherine, we've been doing this together for years now. Make sure you eat. Thanks, y'all, for
I have
dropping
my
them in.
lunch right next to me. It's ready to go, Jess.
Thank you. And it's not just M&Ms.
It is not just M&Ms today.
Very good, very good. This was a standing part of mine and Catherine's agenda. Have you eaten? What can you eat right now while we sit here? Awesome. Hydration, gift of presence. Yes. Yes, Angel, thank you. That's like one of your superpowers, I think. Gracious comments, amens, and shine. You really always bring the vibes in a way that is super, super supportive. Awesome.
That's because I don't keep thinking y'all watch me. So sometimes I just do little dances in my
Oh,
video.
I love it. Keep doing it. Keep doing the dances. And now I'm definitely going to watch because it's going to bring me so much joy. I'm not going to be able to take it. So good. All right. Cohort 6. What? Look at this. It's our biggest cohort ever. And this was not even everyone. We had a lot of folks in person at March Intensive, but we did not have the whole entire group. So we had to figure out how to take a photo where we could fit everyone in. And we were it's just such a lovely group that we are so pumped. For those of you who have not met them all yet, so pumped for you to meet them. We've got some new organizations, we've got some returning organizations, we've got people all over the country. And I have to say that, every year we say like, wow, this group is like really going after it. That is like that's really an authentic reflection, because every year each cohort seems to really be leveling some aspect of the work up. And this group is no exception to that. And so we're pumped to welcome cohort 6. And we're pumped to share our 2025 data from coachees about you all as coaches. And so over the course of the year, we poll leaders multiple times. And in our most recent one was in our March working group. And there was 100% of leaders agreed or strongly agreed that the coaching they receive drives positive change towards their AMA vision, that the coaching is supportive and responsive to their needs, and that the additional supports in the program honor their identity. And so I want to give you a moment. And actually, can we boldly unmute and just read these comments and bring them into the space? Kick us off with that, Lizzie. Just pick one, and then we'll boldly unmute.
The structure of going back to the goal in our agreements drives progress in a real way. Also, nice check-ins, sweet emails, or texts are lovely and appreciated.
Awesome.
Is able to take nuggets from our conversation and wrap pushes and practice into that. I feel like she meets me where I am at while also providing alternative ideas and points for reflection.
Thanks, Libby.
She does a great job making sure that the AMA deliverables feel directly tied to my everyday work, not something separate.
Many times throughout.
Yes.
Go ahead, Susanna.
No, go ahead. I'll do the next one. Now, neither one of us read. Many times throughout this year, he has been a source of support, and I have felt seen and heard in our sessions. Thank you, Emma.
Of course, thank you. The way that AMA structures their program with attention to its goals and openness required to understand each student and its current needs.
Amazing. So we wanted to share this because this is possible because of the work that you all have done as returning coaches and will be doing as new coaches in this community. It is coaching is consistently one of the kind of highest rated aspects of our program. And that is all in part to the way that you all approach this with an asset-based lens. You build context for each leader. It's so uplifting to come in coach community throughout the year and start with assets, and every single person has a nugget of something incredible that a leader is doing, that we wouldn't have insight into all of those things if it was not for this group that is caring for our leaders and driving their work towards their goals. So thank you, both for the support that you are giving our leaders, but also just for what you bring to this team. We consider you all part of our larger AMA team. And so we just appreciate every month getting to work with you and learn from you. So thank you. We're going into the year strong. And if you are new to coach community, you will hear us talk about this quite a bit, this idea of coaching for possibility. Because one of the things, if you were at the 5 Habits training last week, that we talked a lot about is what makes AMA coaching different. And in some ways, it'll be similar to coaching that you've done in the past. But we believe that our job is truly to help leaders think expansively and transform systems by constantly centering on what is possible and on the assets that they're bringing to the table. And so we are going to continue to dive into that this year. And before we go any further, we're just going to ground ourselves in the goals of the program overall. Because we know that at the end of the 15 months, we are looking to achieve some specific outcomes with folks. And quite honestly, as coaches, you all are the primary drivers of our spring success learning cycle and the outcomes that leaders ultimately get. Like, you all are going to be the ones that help them chase that goal. And so we want to keep our eyes centered on these right from the start. We know one of the things that we want to see from all of our leaders is twofold. If leaders are working directly in a school or system where they are chasing student outcomes specifically, we want to see that they shrink a differential for students with disabilities or for multilingual learners in one of the following areas. So either in literacy, in math, in a social emotional metric, or in their post-secondary success indicators if they're in a high school. And so if they are working, again, directly at driving student outcomes, we want to shrink a differential in one of those areas. If they are a network leader or a district leader that is working on systems, building ecosystems to support this work in schools, then we want to see that at least 85% of our system leaders achieve their spring success cycle goal around building a more inclusive ecosystem. And that could be including drafting and INA goals with differentials. It could include revising mission and values to be aligned with habits of mind, or making significant programmatic design movement that specifically centers all kids. And so we're going to think a little bit more. Well, we're going to talk a little bit more about that goal all year, but we want to keep that one in mind because we're going to dissect it a little bit by reading a success story here in just a moment. So that is one area of goal that we have for our leaders, either shrink a differential or build a more equitable ecosystem. The second is producing a spring success story. And that is going to look a little different this year as well, but it is still going to be a codified artifact that helps them both reflect on the wins and serves as a proof point for us as an organization, because part of our mission is, again, to get to a tipping point where we have enough proof points that no one can say, oh, this is only possible over here under these circumstances with these students. We need enough proof points to show at the national level, at the policy level, at the funding level, that this is possible everywhere for all kids. And so that is why those success stories are the second goal. And we are really excited to see what cohort 6 comes up with. Woo! It's exciting to think about that and the 70 plus leaders that are going to be moving the needle this year. Okay, so as a coach, we're diving into learning cycles right now, and one of the most important roles for you as an AMA coach is supporting leaders in achieving the goals of the learning cycle that they're in. And so we're right smack in the middle. We're in the star right now, if you will. Leaders are wrapping up Strong Start, where they are working on 2 core artifacts, their orientation, and they are building their INA goals. So when you take on coaching in August, the reason we put you kind of right in the middle is because technically you're joining leaders at the tail end of Strong Start. Your first priority, which we'll talk about in a moment, is going to be those INA goals. So like their orientation is probably going to be done by August, but the INA goals are the first thing that kind of transitions to you as a coach. And then in September, we will start learning cycle number 2, where they will launch a winter break win. So you are coming in right at this critical time where leaders are going to be back in buildings with students and with staff, really putting their mission and their values into action. And so we always like to ground in the ideal, to think about what does success look like in June when we're winning. And you might be thinking like, gosh, Nina is incredible. And this success story, I've seen it before and it's incredible. Well, we're coming back to it on purpose for 2 reasons. One, because it is such a strong example of what a finalized success story and leader to learn from is, and helps us think about what is the impact of having these success stories on future cohorts as a tool to help us learn and grow and that we can use with our leaders. But also because when we think about that second goal that we just talked about, building a more equitable equitable ecosystem. You like how my brain did those vowels? Yeah. When we think about that one thing that we want to do better this year is help folks really clearly define what does success in that goal look like? Because we are going to have more and more system leaders in our program, and we want you as coaches and them as leaders to be really clear on what it looks like to win there. And Nina's success story is a great example of that. So the success story is linked in your consolidated links. We can also drop it in the chat for you. But we're going to give everybody 5 minutes. And you can choose your own adventure. If you haven't seen this one in a while, I want you to think about this first question, right? As you get back into it, what stands out at you as the impact of the AMA program and specifically the support of coaches? Because you can see on the screen this lovely note that Nina sent her coaches. People you might know, you may have heard of them, Emma Donnelly and Lindsay Cruz on the call here. Whoop! So think about what's the role of the coaches and the impact of the program. And if you've recently looked at this leader to learn from, because you were in the training last year, I want you to think about it through the lens of this second question. What does it mean to build a more equitable ecosystem when we're defining success in that goal? How does Nina's leader to learn from help us do that? Great. So any questions before we dive in? I feel like that was a lot of my voice for a few consecutive minutes, which I'm excited to change. Okay, so we're going to take 5 minutes to dive into that. You've got 2 questions to be prepared to chat about. Feel free to go off camera and we'll come back together at the 41. All right, y'all, when you're ready, you can come on back. Yesterday we did a storytelling session and we watched Stunts' story that she shared, like her 2 years ago story. So it's not even like the most recent one. But every time I go in Nina's success story, just like the connections to Stunts in her story is just a really, really powerful testament to the impact of this program and what's possible. But I want to turn it over to you all. And I want to welcome Lakendra, who just joined. Lakendra, we're so excited to see you.
Welcome, Lakendra.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Bronco,
Is the cat gone?
Yeah, I mean, God works in mysterious ways, right?
Wait a minute, you all just finished hanging out?
I just emailed her earlier this week randomly, and so we had an email going there. And I had no idea we were going to get to see each other. So it's awesome.
I love this. I love this. Yes, I hope there are no cats today. Is the cat gone, Lakendra?
It's actually at my staff member's house. They kept him. They have now 3 cats. It's so sad for her, but I don't know. Sorry, Lizzie.
Guys, last week at training, there was a cat that had hidden itself in Lakendra's car, and Lakendra could not get rid of said cat. Now said cat lives. We thought it was going to live at the school, but it lives with your team member. Okay, well, listen, this is great. Yeah, we will dive into that later. It was we were getting the live updates. It was really something. But this kitten wanted to live in Lakendra's car. Okay. Sorry, I'm going to regroup us. I got too excited to welcome Lakendra into community. When we think about Nina's story, want to open up the floor. What stands out to you in terms of the impact of the program, the impact of coaching? Let's start there. And then we're going to go into this second question about what's the evidence that she built a more equitable ecosystem as a network leader. So let's start with the first 2. And just feel free to boldly unmute.
I can start. What I
Thank
really
you, Karen.
liked, yeah, what I really liked at the beginning is the teach who we are in order to achieve the mission, progress over perfection. And I think often we assume that everyone knows what we're talking about. They know how to do the thing, but if they did, they would be doing it. So that really stood out. And I really liked at the end, under her lessons learned, because sometimes as district leaders, we believe that we have arrived, where she says, you know, you need to get close, get your hands dirty, get proximate to the work. And I think those two are huge key learnings from AMA.
Thank you, Karen.
I think building on you, Karen, there's such a running theme here of that letting go of perfection. And literally when she's talking about in the summertime, they're in that space of like, oh my God, we have to get it just right. And there was a comment about like, we were like, if we have more meetings with our coaches, and I'm pretty sure there was some coaching in there that was like, but what if it wasn't perfect and you did it anyway?
Such a huge question. What if it wasn't perfect and we still went forward?
Something that stood out to me was the like clarity of goal, but then also the work that they did to have stronger assessment and data systems. And I think to me that just it positions other people to be able to understand what's happening and act. And so the more we can make it in our system easier for others to act, the more action that happens on behalf of students. And that really stood out to me as a strength.
Yeah.
I felt sorry for any background noise. What stood out to me is that like when you look at those three statements, it's like a pretty not simple, but simple way to approach. Like set goals, don't be a perfectionist, and like know what you stand for. Like if I think about that as a human, it feels attainable. Which I really appreciated in her language.
Yeah.
I think connecting on that, Stacey, I was thinking back to many of our coaching meetings. And I think also around this question around like, what does it mean to build a more equitable ecosystem is like the intersection of that with perfectionism can really feel like in any capacity, especially when you are a network level leader. I mean, it's true for anyone, but I'm just like putting myself in my own shoes and thinking about the system that you're designing and how that cascades to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. It like can feel like a moment of like, should I take this swing? And what I thought was really powerful about Nina is that she was able to say, like, here are all the things if I were to like audit our system that do not exist. And there is plenty of growth for us to make across like the next 10 years. But like, what is the most important thing that is the first barrier that I help remove from my team so that leaders can then make this decision? And I think often it can feel like, oh, that's not big enough of a swing, or that's like not a perfect enough of a system to cascade. And what Nina was so good at over time was just like, I got to do this. I got to like set goals and I got to help people try to figure out how to do this because next year we're going to be having this exact same conversation, if not. And so I think so much about building an ecosystem is like, what is like defining the win? Because next year you get to level it up again. Because I bet too, like she would, if she were here and she'll get to be in this coaching community, she'd also be like, oh, here are all the things we've shifted since then to be even more precise. So about like part of building, I'm rambling, part of building a more equitable ecosystem is just like starting with it. And I think what was really cool about pairing that with Stences yesterday is that in her story time, she talks about the impact of her school shifting the hiring process and what it meant to onboard new teammates. And so like those small cascading, those setup of systems have huge cascading impacts to a school.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that, Emma. And I think that's a good segue into thinking about that goal that we have set for our network and district leaders around building a more equitable ecosystem. Like if we were to take Nina's story as an example of the ideal there, what does it look like? What did it look like for her? How did she build a more equitable ecosystem? And no, Emma, that was great. Thank you for sharing it.
You're asking how she went about that?
I was about to say, I think my question was confusing. Yeah, if we were thinking about like we want to unpack what does it look like for a leader to win on building a more equitable ecosystem? Like how did Nina do it as an example?
Yeah, I don't mind kicking us off here. I the first step is just getting really clear on what to prioritize and what to like chase after. And I really like that like headline right there, chasing goals to win and to learn. Um, and getting clear around where the differentials are going to lie within there to make sure that they're planning for the margins and planning around. Then identifying what systems are either currently present or not yet present. And so they had some work done there, but then she knew that they needed to either revamp or create a stronger like progress monitoring dashboard so that not just from the technical lens of like, hey, we're going to be tracking this data, but then making it so that meetings and structures that's the data you talk about. And so getting crystal clear on that and then being unapologetically relentless about doing that cycle over and over and over again with the lovely radical problem solving approach. Yeah, that's what's coming top of mind for me. And then bright spotting, of course, along the way, successes.
Absolutely. Thanks for kicking us off, Jonathan. And I always appreciate you seeking clarity.
Can I do a fun fact real quick? I'm just having it was fun to hear Jonathan talking about Nina bright spotting because Emma and I were at Excel when Nina taught her principal cohort about bright spotting and used Jonathan's leader to learn from. So just another testament of the power of all the like connections and communities. So just sorry for my interruption, but I couldn't let that
interrupt away always with those things. That's awesome. What else? What other evidence of more equitable systems do we see in Nina's story that she worked to build?
She built the MTSS continuum and a data dashboard, it seems like, for each school. So, I mean, yeah, the one that initially stood out to me was what Jonathan talked about, like how much more of an equitable ecosystem you already have once you've got goals with differentials. But I do think another thing that I saw was them building like an MTSS continuum and like they codified what their MTSS, I can't remember the exact language they use, but like having that and like roles and responsibilities and starting to implement that in your school definitely builds, or in your system, definitely builds a more equitable ecosystem in your network.
Yeah, thank you, Lizzie. I mean, there's just so many gems.
Can I?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oops, sorry. I was just thinking like, I think one of the traps we can fall in at the network level too, like the way the system currently works is like, they could have, like Nina or any of our leaders could say, oh my God, we don't have goals, we don't have this, we don't have any of this. We just have to get it right for the majority of kids first. And I think that's something we should listen for when we're coaching network leaders, because it's a natural response to be like, we got nothing. We just got to build the basics and then add on. And I think that's I think what was cool about Excel was they were already introducing goals. Let's add differentials. We're already thinking about this, like just how do you actually get to start somewhere? And I think that's a big thing for us to sort of coach for.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that, Lindsay. Amazing. Well, we are gonna move forward with this kind of story in mind as kind of one of the ways you could think of the ideal state at the end of our leader's journey. Not every leader's journey is going to look like Nina's. We've all had our own individual journeys, but when we think about the way that she, from the jump in building systems, centered all kids. I saw a UDL from the moment of design. Exactly. That is kind of one of the elements we wanted to highlight, specifically related to that goal of building a more equitable ecosystem. And we'll continue to look at examples throughout the year as we support our leaders in doing that for themselves. So now we're going to dive back into learning cycles. So Emma, I'm going to want you to voice it over just before we go, because I'm sure that's a little nugget in the chat.
I'll be fast. The thing I was just going to say is she also co-built this with school directors and her academic team throughout the whole process. And so like the shifting operating procedure was really connected to what was happening on the ground. And it allowed everyone to coach each other on mindsets and beliefs at the leader level, which I think really impacted how fast they were able to cascade things too.
Yeah. Thank you. No, I appreciate you voicing that over. So many things that we can pull from her, leader to learn from. It never gets old. Awesome. So now that we've thought about success with the end in mind, I'm coming back to this slide to just ground us again in where leaders are in terms of the learning cycles. We know in the 15 months, they're going to go through 3 learning cycles. Right now, they are at the close of Strong Start, the launch of Winter Break Win, right as you're getting ready to step in as the coach. And so what they have worked on thus far is their mission map and their day in the life to really set them up for building a strong orientation in August. Their goal is that they're able to practice their orientation with their guide before they transition into coaching, assuming that most of them will be doing their orientation pretty early in August. The other artifact that they've been working towards is their INA goals. So at this juncture, they should have started to build their goal frames to think about, okay, what are all of the buckets, the areas of goals? Are there any that we're missing when we look at our mission? Is there anything we should be measuring that we're not? They've taken stock of their historic data. What does that tell us, and how can that help us inform differentials and our final targets? So when we time bind those things in present tense, that doesn't make sense. Looking at it time bound, you'll see again that by September 17th, that is when their orientations are technically due. It's tomorrow, so they'll be wrapping those up. And those INA goals are going to be your first priority because we have set the target date to be a little bit flexible for these because we know that leaders are going to be finalizing them our goal is that they have them finalized at the start of school. And we know that that date is different for folks. So our goal is that they have some INA goals finalized by the start of school so that they can be teaching the goals to their staff when they launch. And so with that, we want to give you all an opportunity to have like one glimpse into the work of one leader that you're going to be coaching. So many of you are going to be coaching more than one person. Some of you will only be coaching one person. But for today, we are going to have you dive into just one leader that you will be coaching to see their mission map and what they've built in their mission map to date. And so on the Nearpod, you should be able to click on I'm seeing Jonathan say, nope, nope, nope. Excellent. You can't click on the links in the Nearpod. That is helpful. So my twin, Jess Brown, I think just put something in the chat that I don't know what it is, but I'm wondering if it is. Yep. Amazing. Yes, that is the artifact dashboard, but the mission maps are not quite headline. Thank you for your grace. We are upgrading our data system this summer, and so we're right in the final stages. So the artifact dash isn't fully where it will be by August Coach Community. So I saw JB putting her finger up real quick.
Yeah, really quickly. So the mission maps, do you want me to drop in their leadership dashboard links, or which one do you want me to do?
If we can drop in the folder that has mission maps in it.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to make it easy for you all so you could just click on the individual name on the Nearpod, but we are learning that that's not going to be the way it goes. And that's okay. So in a moment, we're going to drop a folder for you. It's going to have mission maps in it. And we want to just give you some time to take a look at the foundations that they have set. Thank you, Mr. Caldera. I appreciate that. Crushing it, being crushed by the data, one way or the other. Great, Lizzie, we will get that fixed as well. JB, you want me to move ahead and give us some time to gather that, or does it feel like it's close? Because we can come back to this if we need to.
Yeah, keep moving because I think we discussed something else. So keep moving, we'll come back. I'll text you.
Perfect. Why don't we go ahead and just quickly take our 10-minute break, and then we'll regroup on making sure the links are where they need to be. And so we'll see everyone back here at the 08 your time. Thanks, y'all. And JB, I'll give you a call.
Hey, JB or Jess, I have a quick idea if it's helpful.
Sure. Gonna invite you to come back. I know depending on the amount of content your leader had in that doc, you may or may not have gotten through the notes, but based on what you've seen so far, would love to just open up the floor for something that you're excited about in your Coachee's mission map.
Jess, I'll go. I have Eva, and she has a really powerful section in her mission map with her draft thinking. She has the AMA habits listed, and she has columns, but she has we always statement. But then she has the last column that says what this looks like in practice at Green Valley. So then she really lists out what that's going to look like and changing those values into observed behaviors. But she's really clear, and she just has it down as draft thinking, but it's pretty powerful. There's so many examples of how that's going to translate into the work they will be doing this year at her school.
So getting super clear on what
Very
it looks
clear. For example, she has, we always look for the slope, not just the point. So what will this look like in practice here? We do not define students by one score, one behavior, or one hard moment. We will use the data to identify our next move. We make strong visible through feedback, revision, progress monitoring, and of course, celebration. That's just her one little snip, and she's got that for each one. Very powerful.
Yes, that's amazing. I'd love to hear, and I'm super excited you're here today, Tiffany from Central Falls. When you got to look at Laura's, what was exciting that you saw?
I have to say the first thing I was excited about was she's an ELD coordinator. I am crazy, passionate, geek out kind of stuff like this. So I am really excited to see that in her artifact, she's including things around parents and staff and administrators. And it seems like all stakeholders are being thought about in her plan, but also it's very heavy asset-based lens and really focusing in on how to support MLLs, or I think she calls them EBs, are emerging bilinguals, which is not a term I use. So I'm excited to learn from her and how California does things differently than Rhode Island, so we can learn from each other, but also just really excited to learn more about her mission and how we can really support her to get to the vision she has.
Yeah, thank you. And again, yeah, we're so excited to have you here, Tiffany, and bringing all of your wealth of knowledge, working with multilingual learners in Central Falls to this community and to our leaders. So thank you for sharing that. Anybody else? We have time for one more thing we're excited about.
I can go. I have Stephanie.
Yeah.
You want to go, Angel? I'm good. Okay. At Inlace Academy, and I think just starting with like her mission revision, they moved from like cultivating the community to cultivating the intellect in the child. And so I think there's this like shift between like we're moving to like trying to do all the things to like what is our actual role in this work. And so just the transformation of their like mission is like cultivating the intellect, the character, and imaginations of all students and their communities, right? Like it shifted from we want to do this with the community to like we're doing this with our students. But then as you go through all of it, I love how she's considered every stakeholder. So like what does like parents and families look like? What are we doing for teachers? What are we're doing for students? And so she kind of like dove mainly into like how do we like invest teachers, which I think is the right place. And so like what are we doing around them so that they are then able to like get to our mission as it relates to cultivating what our students already bring to the table.
Yeah, you are definitely going to love everybody at that school. Stephanie is killing it, and Lasse is just bringing. They were in our storytelling session yesterday, their whole crew really diving into what's the story they want to tell in orientation. So we're really excited for you all to be partnered. And so this is, yeah.
Do you mind if I add something? I think
please.
This is the first year we have 3 schools that are by design bilingual, and LASE is one of them, Mundo Verde and School on the Square. Different levels of where they are in the like planning and execution of that, but that's also very exciting. So saying that live too, as you like have coachees that are like, what do we do here? They could be really great resources on that planning, which is really awesome. So just didn't want to lose that moment.
Yeah, no, thank you for that. So this is one resource that you're going to use to get to know your coachees. And we know that folks plan in different places. So there are going to be other resources they share with you where they've got more information, and they may have transferred it into a doc that's staff facing now, and they may have it built more out in a slide deck. But this was at least the foundation that we wanted to share for you to dive into to start to get to build some context for your leaders and to think about where you might want to learn more based on what you see and based on where things are. So with that in mind, we're going to get ready to shift gears to talk a bit about Google Classroom, but I wanted to just come back and let you know we're really excited. We are upgrading our data system. You're going to see the C6 artifact dashboard today. Just know that it is like in draft mode, and we're going to dive much deeper into how to leverage it when we come back together in August, Coach Community. So just know that we're really excited to share with you both the finalized and new and improved data system we have, and also the artifact dash when we come back in August, Coach Community. So Google Classroom, we're going to shift kind of into a little bit of the technical, and then we're going to talk about preparing for for August coaching sessions. So we are going to leverage Google Classroom again this year as our platform for leaders. They are going to find in their Google Classroom their learning cycle number 2 leader dashboard. That is going to be shared with them in Google Classroom on 8/5. So basically, to put you in the timeline, folks are going to join their new Google Classroom in August working group, and then they are going to get their learning cycle 2 dashboard that day, which is the dashboard that you all will be using to take notes in. You all will be shared directly on their dashboards. We're not going to have you log into Google Classroom because the tags email got a little unwieldy last year. And so instead, we're going to have a system to just directly share those with you so that you have access to them. So that's going to live in their learning cycle number 2 classroom. They are also going to have their bright spot deck in the Google Classroom, as well as their artifact and milestone submission forms. And each month they'll get working group pre-work. So headlines are everything. Google Classroom functions as like their workbook, if you will, for AMA. This is where they're submitting their pre-work. This is where they're submitting milestones for their artifacts. And this is where their their leader dashboard will live. So when I thought this was genius when Nima said it to the cohort, but like Google Classroom, think about as the workbook, and the cohort hub, you're going to think about as like the textbook. That's where their like recordings and slide decks and things from session are going to live. So workbook and textbook. Again, we are going to use Google Forms. This is not going to be new. This is a reminder if you were a coach last year or if you were in the cohort last year, it's the same system. There are going to be Google Forms on Google Classroom that folks use to submit their INA goals and submit all the milestones for their RPS ecosystem. Those Google Forms are what's going to feed our data system. So it's really important. I know sometimes people just share the stuff directly with their coach, send you their video or send you their thing. If we can really reinforce to folks to submit it through that form, it will just make it a lot easier to have everything kind of feed into one place so that we're not having to individually track down or add links into dashboards. Any questions before I move ahead about Google Classroom use based on last year or anything that came up, or about the submission forms.
I put my question in the chat. Is it a clear question?
Oh, let me see. Sorry, Stacy.
No, you're good.
You know, my brain was.
I just was wondering if haven't they been linked in their dash? Like when it says the deliverable, I feel like I've gotten a link to a form in there.
We have not linked them in their dash. A leader might have linked it in their dash.
Okay.
To be honest, they may have pulled it and just said, like, let me link this here so it's easier for me to remember. We haven't historically linked it in the dash.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for clarifying.
We haven't done that since like cohort 2, Stace, just to name that. So that may be what you're.
Yeah. Amaze. Whoop, there was one more. And their learning cycle 2 leader dashboard. So you will find linked in the Nearpod here the template for the learning cycle number 2 leader dashboard. This is what's going to be created for every leader. So nothing majorly has changed. So this is going to look pretty familiar for all of you, either from the coach lens or from the leader lens. But I'm going to give you just a minute to click in it. Just check out the tabs so that you can surface any questions that you might have about the leader dashboard before we move ahead. So the link is in the Nearpod and it's also in the chat for you. So just take a minute to check it out and then we'll answer any questions. All right, when you're ready, if you've got them, you can boldly unmute. Any questions about the leader dash? I know this one's pretty straightforward, but I may have missed something. Yes, ma'am.
For this one to carry over, we have to do the next steps and the check like we do for the guide.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. So you'll see in the coaching notes tab, and this will come up at the end of the slide deck too, what Angel is referencing. There is a next steps column, and then there is a checkbox. And you will use both of those as you are taking notes, and the checkbox helps us track what coaching sessions are completed. Yes, ma'am, Emma.
The folks will get a cycle 3 dashboard in January.
Yes.
Should we, if you're on the coaching notes, the sessions go through June.
Mm-hmm.
Just if I'm remembering correctly, we should never delete or add a row because the way that it feeds, or if we wanted to like compartmentalize all of them into the, sorry, what am I trying to say? If we want the running notes of all the coaches, coach meetings together, can we copy and paste everything from the first semester into cycle 3 dashboard eventually when we get there?
Possibly. Why don't can we come back to it and then we'll make sure that like in the formatting of it, that doesn't mess anything up? Because I think it's possible.
I think my question was, I remember because I started adding rows last year, I think I'm the one who broke everything. So just saying that for the room of like,
oh yeah,
don't add rows if possible. Sorry, JB. Yeah. But that's a flag for just a continuity thing for a coachee's experience for the January one was my question.
Yeah, no, that's helpful. So stamping that, yes, don't insert rows because that'll throw off the formulas that'll feed the dashboard. And we'll come back to the continuity because I think it is probably possible to have the notes all translate into the January dashboard. So we'll figure out how to do that. Amazing. All right, so the leader dashboard, again, there's a section where you are going to record feedback on their milestones and artifacts. And then there is a tab where you are going to record your notes. And again, we'll have a visual in the latter section of the slide deck that just shows you what Angel was talking about, where you take notes and then you check off the checkbox. So this is our primary system. And again, we try to use it, and I know it gets really granular and nitty gritty, but as we are upgrading this data system, using this really effectively will just help us make sure everything feeds into where it's supposed to go. All right, so zooming into preparing for August coaching. So our priorities for August coaching. The first one, we're going to kind of talk bullet by bullet through these priorities and give you some resources, is getting to know your coachee and learning about their aspirations. So would love to just, it's a small enough group. Let's not even worry with the chat. Let's just have a couple people boldly unmute. What are some of the ways you've best built quick trust in relationships as a coach in August? What are some best practices we can all steal?
Sharing your experience. So like being able to like let them know you've been there, you started a school year, and this is real. And we're here to support alongside.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think being human and making sure they know that you've struggled as well, making that relatable from the beginning. So it's that progress over perfection from day one.
Yeah, I was adding on to that. I think the more granularly, that word, you do that, but like this has been really hard for me. Like, oh, that was really hard for me too. I remember this time, like telling your stories of hard moments and how you got through it, and like adding humor to that, I think, and like keeping it light is really important, especially with such a stressful time of year.
I love that one, Stacy. And I think naming in that hardness is like literally our job as coaches is to help you walk through this and get yourself unstuck and like really see yourself moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all definitely been there.
Yes, we have. In some way, shape, or form.
I think too, like pointing out the small things that they've already done, and just like really building them up. Like it takes one step at a time, and look at all the things that you've already done. And knowing that, yeah, you have a vision at the end, but it takes every step to get to that space.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such an important part of our August coaching because we know that trust and building context for our leaders is going to be critical and the foundation of all of the work that is to come. And so that is our first priority, is to leverage the best practices that you all just shared to get to know them. And there's a couple of tools that I want to call to your attention. We're not going to dive into these today, but I want you to have access to them, and you will get them in the follow-up email. In the draft of the artifact dashboard that's linked here, in column L, you would find your leaders' self-assessments, so that if your leader filled it out, you have that to help you build context on what do they see as their assets coming in, their opportunities coming in. It also has really helpful information, just context for their school. What are the grade levels? How many students? Or if they're a network or district leader, like what's their team makeup? Who are they overseeing? What are they kind of going after? The other thing that I wanted to draw your attention to as you prepare are the Strong Start Leader dashboards. So in this folder, you'll be able to access all of the current dashboards for our leaders so that you can see notes from their guide check-ins. If there are other resources that they've worked on that are linked, like I know a lot of the people I'm thinking, like literally almost everyone I'm guiding has shared some other awesome artifacts for me that are linked in their Strong Start Leader dashboards. And so these are two additional resources that you can dive into as you prepare to launch August coaching. And yes, this picture of Stunts and Ashley IRL, this is like, what did you call it, Bond? This photo, you're like when you meet your coach in real life or some. I feel like you had some artistic name for this photo that was really good.
Yeah, I think I did too, but the other thing about me is I forget things as soon as I say them. So I'm sure it was good in the past, but I love this photo because I think it shows just like if you were there and when you saw them in this moment, and we've all experienced this with our coaches when we've seen them, our coaches, is just like the pure love. So I don't remember what it was.
So much love.
That moment you're reunited with your coach or something.
Yeah, it was something. You'll think about it and then you'll drop it in the chat. No, it's so great to see them meet in real life. But for any of our returning coaches, anything that you would want to put out there about the self-assessment and any way that you have found it helpful in the past, other than the context that I shared. Just open up the space. Okay. I'm gonna be transparent and honest. This is a thing that I have forgotten about sometimes, if I'm being honest with you. There are times I get so excited to learn about my leader that I have forgotten about all of the resources that I have in advance to help me build context. And so I'm gonna share these in the follow-up, but I just want to put out there, it's so valuable. And so put it somewhere and mark it so that it you remember to come back to it, because again, the times that I have forgotten, when I do go back to it, I'm like, dang, there was so much in here that that would be helpful for me to dive into in advance. So make sure that you star it and that you leverage that as you prepare. The next priority, learning about their AMA aspirations. We just talked about leveraging their self-assessment, but August is also the time to set the foundation for consistent attendance. Karen, I'm looking at you because Karen has a superpower of setting up conditions to ensure that people are regularly in coaching, and has ways of supporting them and making sure it consistently happens. So want to open up to everyone, and also Karen, what are some things that we can do in August to really set up the foundation for consistent attendance in coaching?
So my superpower really is about just owning the calendar. And I know they're really busy, and I just name it at the beginning. I know you think you're busy right now, but you're going to be so busy as the year goes on. We're going to take 10 minutes right now, and we're going to pick 2 times a month, and we're just going to calendar invite the heck out of each other. So pick 2 times right now. Doesn't mean they have to stick, but they're on the calendar. And if it needs to change, I'm flexible, but just know that they're there and it's important. So we just take the 10 minutes in like the first or second session to make sure they're on there.
Yeah. So I'm hearing get it locked in for the month of August for sure, even if that's not the cadence you keep forever, but it's like lock in the first 2, shift them as you need to, but get it on the calendar. Anybody else has something really good that they've done with folks that has supported coachees in consistent attendance?
This is going to be your place to actually solve for the thing, like keeping your big work going when the world can get fast and furious. And so like this is actually your consistent landing place, and you will always come out of this way. So like this is why you're going to prioritize this time every time.
Yeah. That's really helpful.
I think, go ahead, Angel.
For the guiding this spring, I started with my people saying we're either going to do it before you go to work or after you get to work. And I used our time zones to our advantage, so that we weren't blocking time during their school day at all. Because last year with Delgado, I found that was like his biggest struggle was he didn't want to step away from doing the work to meet. And so I was like, we're going to do this before you go in or after you get off. So which one do you prefer? And it made our meeting so much more consistent. And I only had to reschedule one time.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
I think like I try to keep a balance of like emailing formal communication and then texting informal communication. And sometimes, and like, I feel like that made it comfortable for us last year just to drop each other a quick text for a reschedule and like clarity of language, or just like a 2 days ahead, like can't wait to see you on Friday. Just something like that as a soft reminder.
Mm-hmm.
This is really like a habit, but at the end of coaching, and Susanna can attest, sometimes I nail this and sometimes I don't. Just saying, like, let's look ahead, like as a next step, let's make sure, does our next calendar work? Do we need to move it around given what you have coming up? And then what do you want to send me ahead of time? And like, what do you want to be true when we meet at that time? So just wrapping it into the last 5. Yeah, I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Thank you for sharing those, I was going to say hot tips, best practices on attendance, because we know when we start strong with leaders, we can build the momentum to stay strong and consistent in those coaching sessions. And so thank you for that. The third priority in August is reflecting on their strong start bright spots. So this is going to look slightly differently this year, which we'll talk about in a minute. But before we do, I want to just ground us in the power of bright spots. So we know that at AMA, one of the kind of hallmarks of our work is both grounding in assets and leveraging our bright spots to help us both build momentum and to help us solve problems. So would love to just open up the floor here as we think about bright spots and centering our work there in August. As a coach or a coachee, what's been different for you because of the focus on bright spots? Whether that's in your work as a coach or a leader in AMA that was being coached.
I think it makes it easier to coach because you're not like defensive or worried. You're just like, you're doing these 80 things really well. And like, how fun is that? Like you do, it makes it easier emotionally.
Yeah, piggybacking off that, I got a pun intended, got a bright spot, the wonderful Adam Warner from LEAD. And so Bronco, you can let him know that I'm talking about him.
He's my dude, Jonathan. He was my AP.
There we go. Oh, and Catherine might be, yeah.
All over the LEAD things. We love that.
Yeah, got a name that I took a really intentional approach of not just bright spotting his work in our first couple spring sessions, but bright spotting his AMA way of thinking. And a nerdy moment that I had in our most recent check-in, literally like 2 days ago, was there was a moment where he brought a question to me from his orientation deck on how to prep a staff member to be able to speak to one of the we always statements, their values. And he brought it to me and he like asked me the question. He's like, I'm feeling stuck on like how to basically prep that person without like scripting it for them or like basically telling them what to say. And then I took a deep breath and I started smiling and he goes, I know what you're going to say. And I was like, what? And he goes, you're going to say, all right. So what would your ideal be in bringing this so that you're not scripting it for the person? And I already brought a response. And he basically answered his own question. And for me, that was just so indicative of like the bright spotting of the AMA way of thinking for him to bring something, but then to also bring an answer and be like, I just solved my own problem, which is ultimately what our goal is. And so shout out to Adam Warner. He's a beast and his orientation is going to kick butt and take names.
Yes. And shout out to you for already getting leaders meta about the coaching, and they're only in strong start. That is awesome. And yes, the LEAD team is coming in just crushing it in cohort 6, crushing it. Emma, I think I saw you off mute, or Susanna, somebody.
Susanna, you should go.
Yeah, go ahead, Susanna.
We always think alike. I was just gonna add that for me, beginning with the bright spots, it was really a moment to reset my my coaching session with Andrea. Sometimes I was coming with a lot in my mind and sometimes not with so many things that I was feeling successful, but it was the first thing she would ask me. So I think it was like a great way to begin that conversation, understanding that we were going to talk probably about hard things, but that everything that I was doing was moving me in the right direction.
Yeah.
And I just want to add to that. I worked with both Karen and Nima, who I love them both dearly. And one thing I appreciated of both of them is I'm a type A personality. I'm always thinking like hard on myself and also thinking like, well, I could have done this better. And just having those bright spots at the very beginning, my gut tells me if you're a leader, most of you are type A. And just remembering those like the small steps that you've taken to get there and just know that you have someone to vent to or to talk to through that process as you're moving forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Tiffany, one of the things you said at the very start about just building relationships is like talking about like what's already going well with this leader. What are the bright spots already in place? And so that is one of the reasons this is such an important part of August and all of our work, but especially that like relationship building part. What are their assets? What is already going well? How do we celebrate that as we get to know them? So thank you for sharing that then and now. And so bright spots are going to continue to always be part of our work, and they are going to be part of our priorities in August. The only thing that has shifted is that we are offering leaders a bright spot deck to capture artifacts and to tell their story, but it is an optional deck. So what we want to make sure happens is that we reflect on bright spots in our coaching meeting for the foundations that they've set in Strong Start. The part that we're saying is optional is getting a full bright spots slide deck over the hump in the month of August with leaders, because we know that that process in the slide deck works for some leaders. For others, they want to talk it out with you in coaching. And that's also a great way to debrief what's working. And so there's going to be an option in Google Classroom for leaders. And so as part of getting to know them in their working style, you can say, like, let's talk about the bright spots. Like, do you want to leverage this deck, or do you want us to just like talk through it and debrief? So know that it is an option for leaders and an option for you to use as we get to know them and to celebrate their bright spots. And the last priority in August is finalizing leaders' INA goals. And so our hope is that 100% of our leaders are able to finalize and cascade their INA goals, including differentials, early in the year to help them be successful in winter break win and beyond. And one of the things that we're going to be doing in August working group is coming back to the idea of cascading goals and these data informed one-on-ones to like reground folks in that right at the start. The resource that I want to draw to your attention as you prepare to go into August is the Strong Start Artifact Playbook. So it's linked in the Nearpod. And I want to give you this is going to be a brief overview, but want to give you a minute to look at page 74, which is where we launch INA goals. And the question that I'm going to pose is, how might you leverage this Strong Start playbook as you are supporting your leaders and getting across the finish line with their goals? So let's just take the next minute on page 74, and then we'll open it up to the group. Yeah, Jonathan, totally agree. I can't find my mouse. There it is. This pesky thing, always hiding from me. All right, y'all, I'm going to open it up the floor. Either how have you leveraged the Strong Start playbook in the past, or how might you leverage it with your leaders as you are getting their INA goals across the finish line? And you can just boldly unmute.
I've used this as example metrics for when they were stuck or like unsure of what they were supposed to use to measure their success. So like they have like this big vision and they're unsure of what their individual goals should be. I've given them this and the AMA sample dashboard. To say like, okay, these are the things that you probably should be measuring at your school: reading growth, GPA, ACT, state assessment. Like, let's look at what's relevant for you and your context, and then think about what kind of assessments we should be looking at for growth.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for kicking us off, Angel. Anybody else? Something that you've used in the past that's worked well, or something in the playbook that you might want to leverage? I loved the quotes that you were pulling, Jonathan.
Yeah,
The bread and
ditto.
butter.
Yeah, I mean, just to voice it over, and I already named it, like this has been one of the technical gaps. I can sometimes be an overly technical leader, just personally. And this is one of the gaps in me trying to like swing the pendulum a bit more in the opposite direction, specifically an artifact that I have learned a hard lesson that I've under prioritized, which has then led to hard lessons learned around winter break wins being way fuzzier than they should be, or then them codifying some of the actual systems of how they're going to track that data. And this is the year of INA goals for Jonathan Caldera to win. And so I'm very much thinking of just literally using this as some of the pre-work, some of these like copy pasting as some pre-work going into the sessions so that my coaches can go in reactivating their schema from these sessions and literally just opening the doc and doing work out of the doc in the most technical sense so that we're like putting that front and center, like a do not pass go.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
They have access to this doc, right? Am I right in saying that?
Yes, they have access to the playbook. Absolutely. The artifact playbook. Mm-hmm.
And they have
it's got so many ways.
Yeah.
Say again?
They have physical copies of this too. They got them in March Intensive.
This is very true. They have the hard copy and they have the virtual.
Can I ask you a quick question? Do they have the planning template in the spreadsheet somewhere?
Planning template for
goals planning template. A couple folks have like reached out to me directly. So like, can we also add that in the follow-up for coaches too?
Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely do that. Both, you mean the like INA goals template and the like planning resource we shared with leaders on?
Yeah, literally just the spreadsheet that they can use. Okay. Like I can plug my goals directly into the spreadsheet. So the formatting part is done and you can just focus on the content.
Yep, absolutely. I'll put it in the follow-up. It's in Google Classroom for them. Everybody has a copy made that they can access there. And I will put the template for you all so that you can see what it looks like so that they can access it. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely. Oh, no, go ahead.
When was the playbook finalized? I feel like this is just like heaven, like on earth right now. I'm just like trying to.
You're like wishing we had it when you were in the cohort.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? I just want a name for like, this is great. And I just want you all to know that to have it in one place is amazing.
We did cohort 3, Lakendra. So you guys were, but you were you and Jonathan and some Jamie who, you know, have been in our coach community were like some of the very first to be in it. So just, we couldn't have done it without y'all. So thank you. And no, you guys were the foundation.
So good. I know, I'm with you. I literally was unpacking something the other day and I found the very first one that I'd gotten, like cohort 3 or something. We used to call it a spiral. And I was like, oh, I don't even want to get rid of this because even though we have an updated one, it's so good. Okay, so INA goals. This is the first priority that we are really chasing in terms of artifacts with leaders. We will talk more in August Coach Community about supporting our leaders with this, but definitely leverage this Strong Start Artifact Playbook There are such good examples, gems. It's just really a wealth of resources all in one place. Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. So many references to these people.
Jeff,
Okay.
can I just say one thing, just
Yeah,
from the lens, like from a district leader? Often this is a part that gets frozen sometimes because they feel like they're the sole owner of EL results or math results, and really looking at that co-owns, even if it isn't co-owning on your team, but co-owning as principal leaders. So I spend a lot of time with, great, you have your dashboard, you have differentials. Yes, you have this for your district, and you have who co-owns it. Walk me through those leadership moves you're going to do to ensure that this is top and center at Cupcake Elementary School or at, Pizza Middle School, whatever it is, because they don't think that through. It's more
Mm-hmm.
that technical piece that we have it all done and everyone has their role and responsibility, but you still are that magical leader to connect those pieces. So I spend a lot of time on that. Yes, the co-owns, and what's your sphere of influence and what moves are you going to make?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, please sign me up for the both of those schools. And yes, such an important point, Karen. Thank you for putting that in the space as well. In the last couple of minutes, just going to hit you with some logistical reminders and a couple of updates that I just want to give the headlines for. So thanks to everyone for your feedback last year about coach community and what are the best ways that we can ensure folks can attend. We know that the longer chunk of time last year felt prohibitive for a lot of people. So we're keeping the same amount of time overall in the month to connect, but we've chunked it into 2 shorter touch points so that on your calendars, it can live more like a standard meeting versus a longer chunk to hold each month. And we will be focusing those on one session is going to be a practice clinic. One session is going to be radically problem solving with data around our goals. So getting into where are our leaders, how do we remove problems? So these calendar invites are all going to be popping up on your calendar here shortly, but wanted to make sure that we kind of named this. In the month of August, we will only have one coach community because we are not going to have a ton of data yet the first week of August because you probably won't have met with your leaders yet. And so in the month of August, we will only meet once. In September, we'll start the split touch points. And what you will be receiving in both the follow-up and in your updated contract that you get from Cambiar is just a new and improved scope of work and stipend breakdown. So what we strived to do this year was to make it really clear how both the coach community sessions and the coaching responsibilities fit together in the stipend, and also to account for folks who are coaching a larger number of leaders or a smaller number of leaders. So there's kind of a breakdown in how the coach community stipend will work. We are hopeful that this feels really responsive and supportive and recognizes the time commitment that you're putting into both parts of being a coach. And so you will have an opportunity again to dive further into this. And I am happy to have a follow-up with anyone for questions after you get it in front of you. If you're like, tell me more about how this works, but wanted to give you the headline that it was going to look a little different than it did last year. Again, with the goal that we are really recognizing and appreciating all of the time and the energy that you're putting into both parts of being a coach. And with that, what we are going to, where's my next step slide? What is next? So I am going to be connecting you with your coachees via email by 7/24 so that you will know who they are and you will then be able to respond to get your August coaching sessions scheduled with leaders. Please remember to just CC the coaches at AMA Leaders email on those so that I can access them, but they don't all go in the Jess at AMA Leaders email. So please CC the coaches email on your correspondence with leaders. And then we will be back together on Thursday, August 6th for our first coach community. Again, where we will dive a bit more deeply into getting INA goals across the finish line and practicing the 5 habits that are going to help us get there. And so with that, before we fully close out, I definitely want to have some space for some gratitude. So please feel free to boldly unmute or drop in the chat just a note of gratitude. And JB is going to put a quick survey in the chat for you as well as we close out. But would love to have some gratitude in the space as we wrap up our time.
I just want to say thank you to everyone being on here as an apprentice coach and getting to learn these structures and hear from all of your perspectives just has me even more motivated to be a part of it. So thank you all for embodying all of the habits of mind and just showing that, you know, every kid's principal means we can be every principal's principal too.
There you go. Thank you for kicking us off, Brocco. Every principal's principal. Yeah, shout out to our apprentice coaches today for diving right in and joining this community and putting your voice in the space. It is going to be so great to have you all and your expertise here to support our leaders and for us to learn from you as coaches. So thank you for joining us today and for diving right in to the start of something beautiful.
Yeah, wanna also lean into impossible always happens here as I think about both familiar faces that I've seen for many years on end and for some new faces popping in. It's just epic to see your names and faces attached to so many of the resources we've already been celebrating, and for you, especially for the new people to be stepping into the coaching roles. It's like we've already made impossible happen here in so many of our different schools, and then to be able to replicate that across new school systems and with our largest AMA cohort, it's really exciting. So pumped to have new and returning faces here.
Thank you. Agreed. Well, I know that my time with you has come to an end. Unfortunately, I would keep you forever, and I know you have work to do and lives to live. But please, the survey is pretty brief. Please take a few minutes before you get into your next adventure to just share some feedback so that we can continue to get better. And we'll see you all in a couple weeks. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
So good to see you.